Hello everybody, I'm Cristina Russo. Imagine a dark, cold place. You can breathe. The dust from the mine is flooding your lungs. In the light of a small flashlight, you search for a stone. A stone that is so bright in so many other places, but makes your childhood so black. The extent of the child labor is a huge problem. The causes multiple and persistent, and the solutions apparently inefficient. Experts inform us how much child labor there is in the world. According to the International Labour Organization, 215 million children across the world are trapped in the child labor. 31% of these children range between 5 to 14 years old, and 115 million work in the worst forms of child labor. Statistics also show that 20% of these children, there is an increase of 20% of boys in Africa amongst ages 15 to 17. According to the Child Labor International Organization, child labor is most rampant in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. In Asia, we have a number of 44.6 million children trapped into child labor. That is 13% of the Asia's population. In Africa, we have 23.6 million children trapped into child labor. That is 26% of the African population, which is the highest percentage. Latin America also exploits 5.1 million children. That is 9.8% of its population. Evidence shows that the highest incidence is in agriculture, followed by services and industry. According to the International Labour Organization, 60% of the children who work in agriculture are exposed to high temperatures, manual handling or transportation of heavy loads. 26% of the children work in different services such as slavery, domestic work, sexual exploitation, and illicit activities. 7% of these children work in industry, and they are exposed to long working hours, night hours, hazardous substances, dangerous machinery, confined spaces underground and underwater. Now that we've seen the extent of the problem, we can explore its causes. According to the ThinkQuest Education Foundation, businesses or corporations are one of the major causes. We have the lack of protection from the governments, the lack of proper education, and of course the biggest cause, the poverty. We don't have to forget the indifference, the ignorance, and the greed for luxury of the people. Sierra Leone is a good example which incorporates all the causes that I mentioned before. Developed countries love diamonds. The civil war devastated the country. Lack of education and poverty took uncontrollable proportions. According to MSNBC, child labor has been for a long time a problem in diamond mines. Children are exposed to the excavation work because of their small body, which can be easily lowered into small, narrow pits. Children work under constant danger with the possibility of the walls collapsing over them. Mutilation of the body, as you see in that picture, is an ordinary punishment over there. BBC states that children who work in mines still number several thousand, beside the UNICEF intervention in Sierra Leone. Orphans and street children are hired to do the adults' dirty work. Children aged between 7 to 16 years old work 10 hours per day, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 p.m. That is a long program, and they don't have time to enjoy their childhood, not even their money. Interviewed from New York Times, Charles Cabia states, "For all my years of mining, I don't even have a bicycle." His hands trembling. "I really got nothing out of it." The extent of the problem is clear. We have an insight of the causes and an example. There is some work done by the organizations, or World Organization, but that's not enough. Will we ever be able to stop child labor exploitation? International labor organizations are optimistic. They think that child labor continues to decline. However, there is still a significant number of 215 million of children involved to labor exploitation. On one hand, in Asia and Latin America, child labor declined, but on the other hand, in sub-Saharan Africa, increased, and 1 in 4 children are forced to labor. International Labour Organization proposed to government to keep their promises, to continue the support of civil societies as NGOs, the media and Education International. But we have to take a stand to this major problem. No war, because war equals poverty, equals orphans in a result of exploitation. No to diamonds or other luxuries, because those luxuries can be pulled out from children's blood and tears. No to corruption and distortion of the information. In conclusion, child labor may decline in some parts of the world, however increases in some other parts. Child labor is a difficult problem to solve it due to the numerous factors that cause it. But we can at least not contribute into it. Remember that if you buy a diamond, that could be a blood diamond. Take a stand, don't be indifferent. As Einstein said, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. Thank you.